Merry Christmas, everyone. I hope you are all enjoying this Christmas season, and I hope you're remembering the reason, all right? The reason for the season, every year, that is our Creator, our God, Jesus. Guys, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're remembering the Lord as always, and I hope you guys are having a great Christmas. Now, if you're like me, and you want to have a great Christmas, then there's some ways that Christmas needs to go. Because I have some Christmas opinions, what I like at Christmas. And I know there's a lot of debates out there at Christmas, all right? I mean, a lot of people have Christmas opinions. You might be like, are we going to do sugar cookies or chocolate chip cookies? Christmas cookie, which team you want? Sugar, chocolate chip? Which one are you choosing? When it comes to ornaments, you going to go with store-bought, or are you going to make them homemade? All right, ornaments. Are you store-bought ornaments or are you homemade ornaments? When it comes to Christmas lights and the lights around your house, do you go for the colored ones or do you stay more just to the classical white lights? Which one are you choosing? And let's be honest, the big one, tree. Are you team real Christmas tree or are you team store-bought fake tree? All right, which one are you choosing there? Now, whether you're fake store-bought tree or real tree, that putting up a Christmas tree and all these decorations has a lot of time and energy, right? I mean, when Kayla looks at me and says, hey, it's time for us to put up the tree, I'm like, I need days to prepare. Like, I need you to help me get my mental energy, physical energy, because I got to carry this thing up a lot of stairs and get it all out. It's just like a lot of work on top of all the work we already do. And as much as I enjoy it and everything, it's so much work. I mean, that's a lot of energy to make presents look this good, okay? It's a lot of energy, for somebody who's just going to rip it apart, okay? For a tree that's going to be up for a month or, some of us, 2 months, 3 months, It's a lot of time and energy in these Christmas things. And, you think about like Christmas meals, you think about, the wrapping the presents, putting up the decorations. It's all a very temporary good time. All the energy you put into getting into the Christmas spirit, it only lasts for a short amount of time. This season is great, but it is pretty temporary, isn't it? But honestly, when you think about it, that is what makes Christmas so special. That's what makes Christmas special, is that it is temporary. That it only comes once a year for just a short amount of time. That's why you don't listen to Christmas music all year long. You wait for the season, for this 1 month, and you jam it in. You don't watch those movies. Well, maybe you watch Elf, because that one's timeless. You can watch that any season. But, you get what I'm saying. Christmas movies, only for a short amount of time, and you watch them all, because that's what makes it special, right? And there are certain things that do last for the rest of the year from this season. The memories that you make, right? The memories you make at this time, you can hold on to those. We can look back years later and laugh. Me and my siblings do that. Family, we do that. Me and my parents, we do that. We look back and we laugh and we think about the good memories we had during these seasons. And talking about family and parents, the relationships that we have. This time of the year, we spend time with people and maybe we develop deeper relationships, and that grows into how we spend time together throughout the years. And then maybe there's gratitude. Hopefully you develop some gratitude during this season where you realize that you have been blessed with a lot and how people love you and you are thankful for it. And you hold on to that through the rest of the year, throughout the next year as well. And it's funny, there's things we hold on to and there's things that we just let go that are temporary. And often times, Jesus is almost like that during this season. Okay, first off, we only really ever talk about the birth of Jesus during the Christmas time. Maybe it's because, all the specials on TVs, the nativity scenes, we have all the songs, mention the birth of Christ. So maybe that's why we focus on it during this time of the year. And the story as well is so important, but it's not something that was only meant to be dwelt upon 1 month of the year. It is our Creator coming into the world and how he did it in such an amazing way where he humbled himself to become a baby. It's miraculous, it's awesome, and it's something that is definitely worthy of being talked about year-round. And so I want to challenge us as we talk about it this month, that we don't forget about how awesome it was how our Creator came into the world to save us. It's amazing. Hopefully we can remember that year-round, how significant and how he humbled himself to do that. I challenge you guys to do that. And this month we've been talking about the birth of Christ. We've been looking at the nativity scene. We talked about Mary and Joseph and how they gave up their time, how they gave a lot to help Christ come into the world. We talked about the shepherds last week, how they gave their stories to other people about their experience with Jesus. But today I want to talk about some other people who came to visit Christ soon after he was born. And that being the wise men, the magi, the three kings, the astrologers, whatever name you've heard them be called. Today I'm going to call them wise men. We're going to take a look at them today and their story and their experience with Jesus. And we don't know a lot about them, but we do know a few things. We know they brought gifts. And could you imagine bringing gifts to baby Jesus? What would you buy him? What would you buy Jesus? I mean, if you're like me, I'm not a great gift giver, okay? I'm not great at it at all because I feel so much pressure. It's like the people that I love and I care about, like I want to get them a really good gift, but what if I let them down? What if I get them something and they don't like it? What if I see them at the store days later returning it? So hurtful, I have a lot of anxiety when it comes to gift giving. It's not my thing, honestly. And people who know me most know that. And I almost get mad when they give me a gift because then I feel like I have to give them something back and I'm just going to let them down. And so could you just imagine the pressure that you might feel getting a gift for people you care about? Take that, multiply it by 10 because you're getting a gift for Jesus, the most important person to ever exist in the world, right? You're like, oh my goodness, wow, that'd be crazy. That's a lot. That's a lot. And imagine Jesus born today. You have unlimited resources. You got money. You can get anything. What would you buy baby Jesus? What would you get him? Would you buy Mary the little backpack satchel thing? I just, one day when I have a child, that's almost what I look forward to the most. Is just being able to strap my child on in a backpack, walk Nala, looking down the street, feeling like a cool dad. I don't know. Anyways, I'm getting off track here. What would you buy baby Jesus? I mean, imagine the pressure for that. Well, like I said, we don't know a lot about these wise men. We do know a few things, though. And so we're going to take a look at their story today in Matthew chapter 2. I'm going to read verses 1 through 7 here. It says, Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea during the reign of King Herod. And about that time, some wise men from eastern lands arrived in Jerusalem. And they were asking, "Where is the newborn King of the Jews? We saw his star as it rose, and we have come to worship him." King Herod was deeply disturbed when he heard this, as was everyone in Jerusalem. And he called a meeting to the leading priests and teachers of religious law and asked them, "Where is the Messiah supposed to be born?" "In Bethlehem in Judea," they said, "for this is what the prophet wrote. And you, O Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are not least among the ruling cities of Judah. For a ruler will come from you who will be a shepherd for my people Israel." And then King Herod called for a private meeting with the wise men, and he learned from them the time when the star first appeared. So, we do learn a few things about the wise men here. We realize that they're scholars, okay? They had to be scholars. I mean, how in the world did they know, when Jesus was being born, who he was going to be? They obviously studied the scriptures, and they studied the prophets like the priests, and they knew about the birth of Jesus. They knew who he was, the King of the Jews. So they had to be scholars. They were important people. They were probably rich as well. And they knew how to find Jesus. They traveled a far distance, so we know that. And they followed a star, we know that. And we know that they are there to worship him, there to give him gifts. And so they respond to the birth of Jesus very differently than we see the king of Jerusalem at the time, Herod, right? They respond differently than he does. Herod responds with fear, Like, what? There's a new king being born? He's going to take my place? He's going to take what I got here? What? Who is this? He responds with hatred, sending out a decree to kill a lot of babies. I mean, it's terrible. They don't respond like Herod. They respond differently. Let's see how they respond when they see Jesus. Matthew chapter 2, verses 11 and 12. They entered the house and saw the child with his mother, Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasure chest and gave him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And when it was time to leave, they returned to their own country by another route, for God had warned them in a dream not to return to Herod. So we see them respond differently than Herod did. They didn't respond with fear or hate. This new powerful king was here. The greatest person ever to be born was here. They respond by worshiping Jesus. They respond by giving him gifts. And when we think about the gifts, they're kind of weird, aren't they? It's like gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Like, I'll probably never say no to gold, but what in the world is frankincense and myrrh? And you think about it, you're like, not really appropriate baby gifts, I don't really see, I don't know frankincense and myrrh, and I don't really know how those are like appropriate baby gifts today. If I showed up to a baby shower and I was like, well, mom might be happy I gave her some gold, but frankincense and myrrh, like, what are you doing? This is weird. But these gifts might not have been cute baby gifts, but they were very significant. These gifts were very symbolic, and they were very big on their purpose. See, the gifts each represented something about Jesus. You have the gold that they gave. Gold is something that represents power and wealth, right? Gold is a gift for a king. You see, when they gave Jesus gold, they recognized that he was king. And then you have frankincense, and you might be asking, well, what is it? Frankincense is actually a resin from a tree, so you can imagine like tree sap, okay? And it's all, they used it for a lot of different things. They used it for medicine sometimes. They used it for perfume. But oftentimes, they would use frankincense as an offering to a deity, a god. And so when these wise men gave Jesus frankincense, they were trying to recognize to him that they knew that he was God, the one true God. And then you have the last gift, myrrh. Myrrh is actually kind of an odd one when you think about it at first, because myrrh is also kind of like a resin, oftentimes used like a perfume, but they use it the most for a body before burial. They used it to help prepare dead bodies before they buried them, meaning myrrh represents death. And so at first that's weird, but then you realize that these wise men were recognizing that they knew that one day Jesus would be willing to die for the people that he loves. So these wise men with these gifts that might seem odd at first were actually symbolic and filled with purpose, because they were recognizing the identity of Jesus, that he was king, that he was God, and that he was willing to die for the people that he loved, his people that he created. The wise men, when they saw Jesus and they recognized who he was, they gave their worship. They gave Jesus their worship. When we think about worship, we probably think of singing or putting on our Sunday best, coming and sitting in pews and being together and singing praises and listening to a sermon. So when it's weird when I say they came and they bowed and gave him gifts, that they worshiped, you might think that's odd, because maybe you only know one type of worship. But we can worship in many different ways. And when we think of worship, I know we think of singing, but I want you to start thinking of just acknowledging and honoring something or someone. When you worship, you acknowledge and honor something or someone. And when it comes to Jesus, we can worship him with our words and our actions. When we worship Jesus with our words, we can sing to him like we do. We can just thank him for what he's done, who he is, through prayer, just speaking to him, just thanking him. That's worship. When we just exalt him, or we tell Jesus how incredible he is, how amazing he is, that is worship. And then when we tell others about Jesus, like we learned last week, to share our stories like the shepherds did about our experiences with Jesus, we worship Jesus when we tell others about him. But we not only worship Jesus with our words, but we worship him also with our actions. You see, when we let go of the things that hold us from following him, we say, I got to deny myself of these things because I'm drawing near to Christ. That's worship. When we make time for Jesus on a daily basis and are every day making time for him, that's worship. When we choose to obey Jesus rather than ourselves or what our culture tells us, that is worship. And when we choose to love the people that Jesus loves, that is worship. And who is that? That's everyone. That's everyone. When we love others, when we love our neighbor, we worship Jesus. You see, the wise men, when they recognized who Jesus was, they gave him their worship. So today I ask you, do you know Jesus is King? Do you know that he is God? Do you know that he is willing and was willing and did die for you? And if you recognize that and you know that, then I ask you, how can you, like the wise men, how can you give your worship today? Thank you, guys. Remember that I love you, that most importantly, God loves you, and there is nothing you can do to change that. Y'all have a good day.